This meeting of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Ferguson has asked to be excused this evening. Director Fons?
Present.
Director Herndon?
Present.
Director Jackson?
Present.
Director O'Halloran?
Here.
Director Reza?
Here.
Director Seamson is absent at the moment. Director Vanoy?
Here.
And Chair Zomber, President Zomber.
Present.
We have a quorum.
The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We acknowledge that Milwaukee lies on traditional Menominee, Potawatomi, and Ho-Chunk homeland along the southwest shores of Lake Michigan, part of North America's largest system of freshwater lakes. On this site, the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnic rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin's Menominee, Ojibwe, Ho-Chunk, Oneida, and Mohican sovereign nations remain present to this day. This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. This meeting is also being broadcast on the WYMS Radio 88.9 FM and via the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience. Sorry, we're gonna try to, it's playing, but not for everyone. Can you put the microphone by it, maybe?
832-0725-4267, seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número. Nuevamente, para escuchar esta reunión en español, llame al 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 832-0725-4267, seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número.
Thank you. Before we move to our agenda, the chair will ask that we share in a moment of silence to commemorate the passing of the following members of the MPS community. Damian Bean, a 12th grade student from Transition. Amir Brewer, a 6th grade student from King Middle School. Dejan Davis, an 11th grade student from Bayview High School. Robert Green, a retired educational assistant from Dr. King Elementary. Maynard Hintz, a retired safety assistant supervisor. Karen Huff, a home and hospice teacher. Jalarian McDade, a 10th grade student from MVP. Ann Presser, a retired substitute teacher. Zakai Robertson, an 11th grade student from Asada High School. Maurice Witters, a 9th grade student from Bayview High School. The board also recognizes the passing of Melanie Moore Steen, a retired principal from Juneau Business High School. Under her leadership, Juneau enjoyed a strong student climate. Juneau housed the district's visual impairment program, and in Ms. Moore Steen's time as principal, Juneau was the only public high school in the United States to be certified as safe for training seeing eye dogs. If we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Each month, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors accepts the public's input both at the committee's meetings and through correspondence submitted to the Office of Board Governance. As was stated in the notice, the board will give public hearing on communication 2526C-001 on Milwaukee Italian Immersion School. This will be the only item on tonight's agenda for which the board will take public comment. If there are no objections from board members, I would like to take the public hearing item after the approval of the minutes. If you would like to speak during the public hearing, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it to our board clerk. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, and requests should be directed to the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. The board appreciates and encourages stakeholder input and assumes that members of the public will participate in a civil manner. Conduct that prevents the good order of the meeting will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in behavior that persistently disrupts the meeting may be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. No one other than members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website. Madam Secretary, what is the first item of business?
The first item is action on the minutes of the March 2025 special and regular meetings and the April 2025 regular meeting of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
If there are no corrections, the minutes will be approved by consensus. Okay. Madam Secretary, as previously indicated, we will move on to the public hearing. Would you announce that item, please?
That item is public hearing on Communication 2526C-001 on Milwaukee Italian Immersion School.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. This is a request for public hearing that was submitted under Board Rule 1.10 for the benefit of new board members. When we conduct public hearings, this rule, it is strictly to hear from the public. The board will not discuss the matter or take action on it tonight. For this hearing, however, I understand there may be some things happening with the Italian Immersion program, so I am going to ask the administration to give a very brief explanation of what is currently taking place. Ms. Jorgensen will then have 5 minutes to present her item. Members of the public who wish to speak will have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to do so. After the last speaker, we will move on to the next item. Administration?
President Zambor, Brenda Caselius, members of the board, Brenda Caselius, Superintendent. I have with me Eduardo Galvan, Deputy Superintendent, who will speak to this item.
Thank you, Dr. Caselius, President Zambor, members of the board, Eduardo Galvan. As a district, again, we are committed to supporting diverse learning opportunities, including language immersion programs. We have actively worked to recruit students, families, and dedicated staff over the years to support Italian program at Victory. However, due to enrollment trends and the district's ability to support that, we are carefully evaluating how to best sustain and grow the language and culture offerings within Victory and MPS. Currently, Victory Italian Immersion School has 24 students enrolled, kindergarten through 5th grade, and 2 teachers that teach Italian. We must grow this program in order to sustain it for years to come. So specifically, we are looking to ensure that we offer that to the K-8 students at Victory. Our goal is to maximize the ability to provide all those students the language opportunity and the cultural opportunities as a way to possibly expand and grow the number of students who may have interest in that. Again, so we'd be serving the entire community as we explore other options. We have actively recruited students. We've been at FESTA. We've been at all our enrollment fairs, not only for teachers but for students as well. So the plan is to offer that language opportunity and those cultural experiences to all the students as opposed to just the 24 that are currently there, and as an effort to either look to the future as to does it remain there in that site, are there other options, can we recruit enough students to make that a sustainable program?
Thank you. We will now move on to the public hearing. This communication was submitted by Ms. Gina Jorgensen. Ms. Jorgensen, could you please come to the podium? Please state your name, spell your last name, and then present your information. And then after Gina, we will go to Sandy Winnard. Thank you.
Buonasera. President Zomber, board members, Dr. Casilius, and administration. Gina Jorgensen, Jorgensen. I'm going to try to get as much in as possible in these 5 minutes. So I am a concerned community member and supporter of the Italian Immersion School. I would also like to note that many folks that can't be here tonight because we are all busily setting up for Festa Italiana, which opens tomorrow, which you probably all know. Although the timing of the public testimony is not ideal, we are grateful for this opportunity to share our thoughts, concerns, and ideas, and I can assure you that I speak for many of those who are not here, because this audience would be much fuller. This evening, I will share why I and many others have put much effort into the continuation of the Italian Immersion School to remain in its original format, as well as proposing its move to a central location like the other MPS immersion schools. I have provided a folder of documents to support my testimony, which hopefully you all have. I will be injecting historical information throughout my testimony for you. My youngest daughter, who's in the audience, is a 2024 MPS graduate, attended the Italian Immersion School K4 through 5th grade. I was on the school governance council, and I was the liaison between the school, the Italian Community Center, and I also belonged to a group called WIS Italia, I was also represented. WIS Italia was a local organization that promoted Italian language in conjunction with the Italian government. Even in its early days, the program suffered by being reduced to partial, then back to full again, while the program was growing, and we have the data. This was not the model the board approved. When my daughter began school, it was full immersion. I remember visiting her classroom and walking in there, and the teacher speaking in all Italian. These kids were 4 and 5 years old, and they knew everything that that teacher said. It was amazing. I mean, I had chills. I couldn't believe my ears. So then the school went to partial immersion, and unfortunately, by the time she left in 5th grade, she barely knew Italian because they barely got to have Italian. They had to teach in mostly English. I was heartbroken, so was she. Unfortunately, this lack of consistency and alignment to the original board-approved model resulted in my daughter leaving MPS knowing very little Italian. This example illustrates just one reason why I'm certain that your plan to completely end the immersion model and to begin a world language model at this location will not work. We lived it as a family. We know exposure is truly how to retain language acquisition. To this point, I would like to clarify that these actions and those described in the letter Home to Parents are clearly ending the Italian Immersion School and replacing it with a world language model. We have data to show the steady enrollment, which you all have in front of you, until the pandemic hit, and then everything changed. The neighborhood changed completely. Giving the Victory program and the students the attention, the space that they deserve now, because it is an ESL school now, it truly is. And let the Italian Immersion School reboot somewhere new, centrally located. Victory was not the ideal for growth, and it was never, ever meant to be a permanent home. You all would know that because you weren't here then. We know enrollment has dropped. Parents were surveyed. However, many parents often don't respond to surveys, which is a common issue for the district. I'm a veteran teacher in this district. Over the past decade, the Italian government has contributed over 100,000 euros to support the Italian Immersion School, funds that could have aided in enrollment, outreach, retention, relocation to a more central site like other MPS immersion schools. The Board of Directors approved the school in 2004 with its opening in 2006 as documented in the archive board documents which I provided for you. If the board authorized the creation, shouldn't they be responsible for any official decision to dissolve it and not administration? Our community group worked closely with MPS administration for 18 months to prevent the closure, with strong progress under Miguel Sanchez's leadership. Despite this, the closure decision was made without notice. We have compiled a detailed timeline, correspondence, enrollment data, and funding records for your review. I respectfully urge you to prioritize relocating the Italian Immersion School to a new central site and to provide the necessary resources for its continued success. We know that immersion programs demonstrate strong academic outcomes and high levels of family engagement. The school deserves a permanent home where it can flourish. Let's use this opportunity to reinforce the shared commitment in innovative and inclusive education by reinvesting in a relocation and growth for the Italian Immersion School. As a representative of the Italian community, language acquisition and sustainability is a priority for us, for all students, whether they are Italian or not. We have asked many times over the years, and none of you would know this because you weren't around. We've asked many times for a decade for this school to be moved, and here we are now today. Let me appeal to you and empathetically request that the Italian immersion school will be given the same opportunity and support as the other immersion schools. I guarantee if done with fidelity, you'll be pleased with the positive outcomes for all students. The Italian immersion program is the only public school of its kind in the nation and represents an invaluable asset not only to Milwaukee Public Schools. This is your chance to use your voice now to make sure the board's original action is upheld so the school can flourish once again. Lastly, please, those of you this evening that are here representing the school, either stand up, wave your flag. We have as many people that we could get here tonight. We have a parent here. So please, please, please support us. We appreciate you. Grazie.
Thank you. Up next is Sandy W. And then we'll have Natalia Gavantnik. Sorry if I'm... Sandy, you can
Thank you.
say your name and spell your last name for the record.
Certainly. My name is
Thank you.
Sandy Winard, and the last name is Winard. Don't let the last name fool you. I'm half Sicilian, and I happen to be the current sitting president of the Italian Community Center and the executive director of Festa Italiana. So certainly I'm here to voice our concern, our deep interest in that what's happened, as Gina has indicated, but the future. I was deeply concerned when I heard about this because as a born and bred Milwaukeean, I've always felt that MPS has been a bastion of diversity, both ethnically and in many other areas. And the idea that to start to dilute one of the prominent groups of Americans that have settled in our community was concerning. My grandfather immigrated here from Bagheria, Palermo. The east side of Milwaukee, Brady Street, the 3rd Ward, was one of the most vibrant and building block areas of this city. Our current community center, we're at 631 East Chicago, city of Milwaukee. And if any of you have taken a look at our property taxes, we are significantly contribute to the tax base that subsidizes Milwaukee Public Schools. So, what are we looking for? We're looking for equity. We're looking for fairness. We're looking to be treated as much as any of the other languages that are represented in an immersion school. We would like to see our culture, our language, have the same opportunity. We open tomorrow at 5 o'clock, Festa Italiana. I might be biased, but needless to say, we're probably one of the most beloved festivals in this city. We are debatably the very first ethnic festival in this city that graced our beautiful Milwaukee lakefront. We continue to do that along with all the other ethnic festivals. So, as president of the Italian Community Center, as Festa Italiana executive director, what do we ask? We ask for equity. We ask to be looked at and treated as much as the German or the French immersion school, the contributions we make to this city, both aesthetically and the ethos of our culture and of the tax dollars we contribute to the school system and the initiatives of it. I ask that consideration respectfully and hopefully see you all at Festa Italiana this weekend. Ciao Bella.
Thank you. And we have Natalia G, and then Gordana P. Okay, thank you. All right, Natalia, you may begin.
School board members and administration, my name is Natalia Gotovnik,
And spell your last name.
Gotovnik. I am a proud 2024 MPS graduate from Milwaukee High School of the Arts and a current student at UW Milwaukee. I would like to begin by telling you this is not the first time that I have testified in front of the MPS school board, advocating for the Italian immersion school when I was a child. I have testified several times about the constant change of status and the lack of citywide busing over the years for the school. Many people over the years have asked for the school to be relocated so that it could grow. Look at where we are now. I understand that none of the current and new board members would know these things, and this is why I am here to tell you about what it was like for me. I began my educational journey at the Italian Immersion School in 2009, K4 through 5th grade. I was beyond excited to learn Italian. My very proud Italian grandfather was thrilled that I was attending this school. My older sister Brittany was studying Italian at UWM, lived in Sicily for a semester, and earned a bachelor's degree in the Italian language. She's actually a special education teacher within the Milwaukee Public School District. When I was in kindergarten, my teachers only spoke to me in Italian. I was able to speak, sing, count, and read all in Italian. Unfortunately, when I was in first grade, the school went to partial immersion. Our teachers could hardly find the time to teach us any Italian, and they were forced to teach everything in English. By the time I left in 5th grade, I hardly knew any Italian. My family, as well as I, were heartbroken. Furthermore, it would have been wonderful to have been able to take Italian language at Milwaukee School of Languages, but that also never happened as planned by the district. I completely disagree with the plan to offer Italian as a world language versus full immersion program. These structures are worlds apart, and taking a language class once a week and for only those who have an interest is doing a disservice to the students of the Milwaukee Public Schools. So I ask you, the school board and administration, who represent current and future students like me, to do the right thing and stop this. Let the school grow and flourish in a new location for all of the MPS students to have access to, not only to the South Side students, like the German, Spanish, and French immersion schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Giordana, and then Simonella M.
Hello. President Zomber and members of the board, my name is Giordana Poggioli Kaftan, and I'm the Italian Program Director at Marquette University.
Can you spell your last name for us? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
which one, the first, or the second,
The
or
last-
both?
The second, your last name. Thank you.
I have, my Italian last name is Poggioli, Poggioli, and Kaftan is Kaftan.
Thank you.
My married last name. So I'm here to support the Immersion program, which has played a formidable role in the students' cognitive and cultural awareness development by exposing them to the intricacies of the Italian language and culture. Learning a different language and culture fosters a deep recognition of the multiplicity and complexity of the human condition and experience. Thus, it better equips students to relate to a massively interconnected and ever-changing world. Moreover, in a world dominated by AI, we educators must wonder what kind of learning will be relevant to the next generation. I would argue that helping students understand the human value, which crosses all cultures, and develop interpersonal and interrelational intelligence will be paramount for a society already suffering from the so-called deaths of despair, rooted in a malaise of social and cultural disconnectedness. Last but not least, in this historical moment, when the student's IQ is alarmingly declining, studying a language is a well-proven countermeasure, as it strengthens memory and information fast retrieval, executive functions, logical reasoning, phonics, and creativity. While cultural awareness hones empathy, so much needed to build bridges for a sorrowfully isolated generation of students. In conclusion, although I support the initiative of teaching Italian culture and language as a world language at Victory, I respectfully ask the board to give the Italian Immersion program a new start in a new structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Simonella M. And then after this one, we'll probably we have a virtual speaker on the platform, we'll go to there. And then just for the record, Director Seamson joined us, but I didn't see you when you joined us, so.
I noted it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if you could just say your name and spell your last name for the record, please. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing all of your names.
Simonetta Milliconuco, last name Milli, space Konewko. President Zomber, members of the board, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for listening to us. I am Simonetta Milliconuco, and I'm the director of the Italian program at UWM, although my statement reflects my personal view, of course, not the view of the institution. One of the most inspiring events I've helped to organize at UWM was the Italian Day, which was made possible by our partnership with the Italian Immersion School in 2019, before COVID. So one day, Immersion students visited campus and spent a day fully engaged in Italian, participating with UWM students in language-based games, a guided library tour, an Italian film screening, and collaborative T-shirt design with Italian phrases. It was a vibrant day. It was an immense success. Because of the culture and linguistic exchange among the students. The success of this event was due to the students' strong foundation in the Italian, built through years of consistent immersion. Their enthusiasm and fluency energized our classrooms and reminded us of how powerful language learning can be when it is culturally rooted and community supported. The Italian Immersion School is not only unique to Milwaukee, but through the Midwest and the nation. It serves as an invaluable educational resource for our city, region, and nation, one that supports students of all backgrounds in becoming globally competent, culturally aware citizens. Studies have shown that early language immersion enhances brain development, academic achievement, and important life skills like empathy, flexibility, and problem solving, qualities essential for young people in today's interconnected world. Moreover, Italian is a global language of design, art, food, science, aerospace engineering, advanced manufacturing, and diplomacy, spoken not only in Italy, but also in at least 13 other countries in the world. This program prepares students, all students, for success in a wide range of fields, opening pathways to higher education and international engagement. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider closing our program. The Italian Immersion School is a cornerstone that profoundly enriches our community. Its closure would be a great loss for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one virtual speaker on the virtual platform, Brittany Crivello. Are we able to bring the virtual platform up? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there's just one that I don't have the name for. Sorry, the note was on Brittany's.
Michael Balistreri is on the
Michael
virtual
Balistreri.
registration. Michael, are you there?
Can you hear us, Michael?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You, if you could just say your name and spell your last name for the record, and then you may begin.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Michael Balistreri. My last name is spelled Bravo, Lima, India, Sierra, Tango, Romeo, Echo, Romeo, India. Thank you, President Zambor and members of the school board for allowing me to speak and for the community input tonight. I also want to thank Principal Wagner of Victory Elementary School for doing her best to balance a difficult situation by offering an alternative to the immersion program, despite the community's appeal that an immersion program is the best option. I'd also like to say that although I'm not subject to the internal deliberations of the Milwaukee Public Schools superintendent or other analyses that were done to suggest the closing of the immersion program, I can only imagine that it's rooted in fiscal resource constraints, perception of a lack of community support, and also attempt at balancing competing priorities. I'd like to quickly offer my bona fides as to why you should consider my opinion, and then I'll go into my reasoning for each one of what I assume are your supporting reasons for considering this. I'm an active duty naval officer, and like others who have spoken tonight, I have to say that my views do not necessarily represent the Department of Defense. I've served at sea for many years, and I'm presently assigned as a Deputy Legislative Assistant to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's the senior most military officer in the country and principal advisor to the Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, and President on all matters related to national security. I'm in this position because I'm a graduate of Milwaukee Public Schools. I attended Milwaukee Spanish Immersion School from kindergarten through 5th grade. Although briefly in 3rd grade, I was offered to go to Golden My Year. I went for about a month, and while there, I realized that Spanish Immersion offered me a more complex and challenging academic environment, so I soon returned. Went to Fritchie Middle School, which is now closed, and I graduated in 2008 from Rufus King High School with a full IB diploma, and I was the valedictorian of that class. I have tremendous respect for MPS. I also happen to be the son of Tom Balistreri, who was one of the principal advocates and founders of the Victory Immersion program. He was in your same position as the citywide member of the Milwaukee Public School Board, and I have many memories of some of the deliberations that take place. I'll speak to each of the reasons as to how I can conjecture why you're approaching this decision. The first,
We have
go ahead.
just 5 seconds left. I'm sorry.
Well, all right. Okay.
Could you kind of wrap up your final thought really quick?
All right, my final thought is
Thank
I
you.
ask that you conduct your own analysis and seek community input. Your own deputy superintendent suggested from a viewpoint that the immersion program is only supported by Italian Americans. If you conduct a rigorous analysis, you'll see that Spanish immersion, French immersion, and German immersion have members, significant members of the community that attend that have no connection to the heritage of the languages that are taught. And so I think that there's a fundamental flaw in your analysis, and I ask that you conduct your own and delay your decision until you can make such analysis. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Balistreri. Up next, we have Brittany Crivello and then Mark Koneko. And Brittany, you can say your name and spell your last name for the record.
Hi, sorry, I'm not the best with public speaking. My name is Brittany, last name Crivello, Crivello. Okay, well, I'm a parent, so my daughter attends Victory. So she's in 2nd grade. She started at in K4, so she's on her 3rd year of learning Italian. She's pretty good. She's very good. She's teaching me Italian. So basically, when I had found out last year the program was kind of rocky, I was obviously disappointed. That's the only reason I chose that school. I actually live a few blocks from here, so I drive, every morning to make sure that she could attend that school. So this year now finding out that it's completely ending, there's no need for me to really have her go there. So honestly, she'll probably be going to High Mount, which is right by my house. So it's disappointing, and like I said, she's very far along already at 7 years old, and it's something that I always told myself when I have a child, this is the school I want her to go to learn Italian. My grandfather came from Sicily to Ellis Island, and so it's just kind of something we always wanted, so. Okay.
Thank you so much. Mark Koneko and then Christina Balistreri.
Hi, good evening. Mark, M-A-R-K, Koneko, K-O-N-E-W-K-O. Good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Really appreciate it. I'm here to urge you to not close and to really advance the Italian Immersion School, because doing so would be really against the vision and the motion of MPS. I'm on the faculty of Marquette University, and these are my opinions, and I do not represent Marquette University. I grew up in a bilingual home, and that experience shaped how I see the world. It didn't just teach me 2 languages, it taught me how to connect with people, understand other cultures, and think more openly. Those lessons have stayed with me throughout my life. There are 3 reasons that the Italian Immersion School should remain open. The first is that it's very much a part of the MPS mission is to prepare students for success in higher education, careers, and citizenship. I don't have to tell you this because I think you know this, but bilingualism is a powerful part of that. It's the immersion education strengthens these cognitive skills, literacy, and global awareness, giving students really a competitive edge in the future. Secondly, the Italian Immersion School reflects the MPS vision of equity, diversity, and academic growth. It is more than a language program. It's a rigorous, child-centered, inclusive community that activates engaged families and promotes cultural understanding. And third, closing the school would move away from the core beliefs of MPS. 2 come to mind. First, that students come first. Removing a high-performance program really limits that opportunity. And secondly, equity drives divisions and decisions. This reduces the access for families who really can't afford private alternatives of learning another language. In conclusion, I would encourage you to really continue moving forward with the Italian Immersion Program and really make it a shining example for Milwaukee and the Midwest so that it can be rigorous, inclusive, and deeply connected with the world that our students are growing into. This is for the students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Christina Balistreri. And then while Christina comes up, we have another 5 slips that do not wish to speak, but do want to be on the record as not supporting the item, specifically the world language model. Okay, Christina, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Christina Balistreri, Balistreri. That was my younger brother that was speaking virtually like him. My father was Tom Balistreri, one of the drivers and essentially founders of the Italian Immersion School back in 2004. Unfortunately, our father was diagnosed with dementia shortly after the creation of the Italian Immersion School. So his participation in the Italian Immersion School after its creation, unfortunately, had to cease based on his own health issues. I, too, like my brother, am a former MPS graduate. I went to Rufus King High School, where our father was also the principal. I also went to Spanish immersion. Unlike my brother, I chose to stay at Golda Meir when I went there in 3rd grade. However, I have always taken my Spanish immersion education and experiences with me. I'm still friends with people from Italian immersion. I think that those experiences aided in my education and desire to learn cultures also at Golda Meir, including the program that they had then going to Denmark, and then we also did a French program there where we learned French and went to Quebec. So these are all examples that were started by, my going to Spanish immersion. I think I'm running out of time too because Italians talk a lot. But I will say, piggybacking off of what my brother said and after hearing some of the things from the other speakers, so one thing I forgot, I actually taught at the Italian Immersion School prior to attending law school. I'm a lawyer now, but I taught the K-4 in, I think, the 2008-2009 school year. And I will say this, the majority of our students were not Italian. They were diverse. They were from all over. They were very representative of MPS at that time and how I thought of MPS. I think that the Italian culture is great. I am Sicilian. Our dad was proud of being Sicilian. I think everyone here who is Italian is proud of that. I think everyone should be. But I don't think that that should be the focus of the school. As my brother mentioned, the Spanish immersion, French immersion, German immersion, those are not targeted at Italian, at German Americans who live in Milwaukee. So I think that, and I know I'm out of time, so just wrapping up, I think that as the deputy superintendent suggested, I think that some of this decision was made by the low enrollment, but unlike those other immersion programs, the target enrollment apparently has been Italian Americans, it sounds like. So I think that the community members, the school has the potential to serve all of MPS and not just emphasizing the Italian American heritage. So I do think that having it have a fresh start, a new location, giving the changes in over the last 20 years, especially in a
Thank you, Ms.
post-COVID
Balstrey.
world. So I would ask, and I obviously wasn't able to get to everything I wanted to, but I would ask that the board consider those considerations and defer any decision after
You can
making a more analysis.
You can always email the rest of your thoughts to the board.
I'm
And
done,
that's
it's
the
fine.
Okay, thank you. And that's the same for anyone. If there's anything else that you want to say tonight, please email us. We also have the packets that were passed around. There's some beautiful artwork from students that we'll make sure all of the board members see. So I just want to thank everyone, and if there's something else, we will definitely, you can get that through email, or you can hand something to the board clerk. So I just want to thank everyone who spoke tonight. The board will take your comments. Oh, is there one? I'm sorry. Oh, did you turn one in? A slip?
Trying to find a speaker slip, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to find one more. Okay, it's okay. If someone, you can come up to the podium and say your name and spell your last name for the record. Well, I'm so sorry.
My name is Mike Palmisano, Palmisano. As Christina and Mike Balstreri's eloquent discussion here, their father, Tom, came to me. I was the past president of the Italian Community Center at the time, or current at the time. And he came to me wanting to start the Italian Immersion School. Myself and Sam Papero, we came up with checks to launch it. The mere fact that I'm here right now, I've also done a fundraiser for them to add extra funds. I'm not happy that I'm here to have to defend the Italian Immersion School. I'm not disappointed in the students or the teachers. I'm disappointed here that it got to this point. Let that resonate. They've all discussed how people who have multiple languages have better test scores and are more intelligent. I myself, I'm a dual citizen with Italy and the United States. I'm an investment advisor, and I'm results orientated. I think you guys better go back to the drawing board, find a solution. One of them is looking at an alternative spot that can let the Italian Immersion School flourish. You all know this. I think you've have it brought to you before. I don't want to see this school closed, period. If it's a money thing, let us know. We'll do fundraisers. Let's find the solution instead of closing it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any more slips that I'm missing? Did anyone else plan to speak tonight? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for everyone who spoke. The board will be taking your comments under advisement. With that, Madam Secretary, are there any communications from the city or county?
Madam President, we have one communication from the Office of the City Comptroller. Action on a request from the City Comptroller for adoption of a resolution authorizing the sale of revenue anticipation notes. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached resolution to authorize the issuance of revenue anticipation notes.
Will the administration please present the item? And we're just waiting for Ms. Saba to join us. Okay. Administration, are we ready to present the item?
President Zambor, members of the board, Brenda Caselius, presenting the item this evening as listed on the agenda. I have with me Chief Financial Officer Aicha Sawa to speak to the item.
Good evening, President Zambor and fellow board members. I have Joshua Benson here from the City Comptroller's Office, and he'll present the item.
Good evening, board members, President Zambor. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Joshua Benson. I'm the Capital Finance Manager for the City of Milwaukee. The item in front of you today is an annual item that comes every year, whereby the board authorizes the city to enter into revenue anticipation notes. That is a debt instrument that allows us to fund cash flow needs in anticipation of larger revenues, such as state aids that come in later in the school year. This allows you to pay teachers, make operating payments while you don't have those funds. The last time we've actually had to issue these were in 2020, so even though you're approving this, that doesn't necessarily mean we'll issue these. The past 5 years or 4 years, we have not needed to use them due to higher levels of cash that have come through American Rescue Plan Act, COVID relief dollars, essentially. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do board members wish to ask questions or make a motion?
I actually have a question.
Director O'Halloran.
Just a question. So I know that we had higher cash flows based on the ESSER funds or the American Rescue Plan Act, so ARPA. Do we actually anticipate having to issue any this year? I don't know if that's
administration.
We don't have the budget yet, so I'm not sure what the forward-looking looks like.
Well, at this point, in my discussion with the Treasurer's Office that handles the liquidity projections, they are of the opinion that we should be okay until potentially needing something in September or October, but a lot can happen between now and then from a cash flow perspective, so it's a little too early to say.
The motion passes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the superintendent?
Madam President, we have one communication from the superintendent, the monthly report with possible action of the superintendent of schools. This is an informational item, and although it was noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will the superintendent please present the report?
President Zambor, members of the board, Brenda Cassellius, Superintendent. Well, last month has been a productive one in MPS, and we get closer to the end of the school year on Friday, June 13th. So just want to make sure that all of our families know that Friday, June 13th will be the end of our school year. I want to start again with what I've made a priority in my superintendency the past couple of months, which is a lead update. First, I want to share that we have been making really good progress in our lead stabilization efforts at the impacted schools. As you know, Fernwood Montessori School reopened to students Thursday, April 24th, after being cleared for occupancy by the City of Milwaukee Health Department. I was able to be there as students returned, and they were clearly thrilled to be back in their school building. I again want to express my gratitude to the staff and families and the entire Fernwood community for their partnership, their flexibility, patience during this disruption. Earlier this month, Starms Elementary Learning Center was also cleared for occupancy by the health department. While the building is ready, the school community requested to stay in their current location at Starms Discovery Learning Center for the remainder of this year to limit further disruptions to teaching and learning. As we continue to stabilize efforts with the goal of clearing schools before 1950 by the end of this summer, we announced on April 28th that the relocation of two buildings, Westside Academy and Brown Street Academy, would be relocated. These schools have been relocated to Douglas Middle School for the remainder of this school year and will return to their buildings at the start of next school year. We have informed some families that the summer school program they have registered for will involve being moved so that the buildings on our list can be worked on this summer. I believe we're making really good progress, and I want to acknowledge the very hard work being done by our facilities and maintenance teams. This issue has garnered national attention and from national news outlets, including Good Morning America and CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta. And while this is never the reason we want to be in the news, I'm proud of the way that we've focused our efforts these past 2 months, partnered with the city and the state, and entered a new phase addressing this issue. I believe this issue is not just isolated to Milwaukee Public Schools, and it's my hope that our plan can be exemplar for districts across the country. Last night, we held our latest town hall meeting for families at schools currently relocated, Westside Academy, Brown Street Academy, and La Follette. Starnes families were also invited. While this was sparsely attended, we believe this is an indication that our families are being regularly communicated with and have had their opportunity to have their questions answered. We've learned a lot over these past 2 months with our lead plan, and we continue to work hard on ensuring that our public has the proper information that they need in order to move forward. I wanted to be able to give a finance update. We continue to work urgently and intentionally to meet the deadline set forth by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. We've been working closely with DPI and in regular communication with them as we work to meet tomorrow's deadline. I spent the holiday weekend along with so many members of the finance team here trying to meet these deadlines and working diligently. For the past 2 weeks, the members of the team have been working out of the superintendent's suite in order to bring everybody together in one space to make the workflow more efficient, to problem solve, and to be in better communication with one another. Next week, we'll present our budget proposal to you, so there will be more discussion on that next week, and the organizational changes that we have made were discussed at recent meetings. I had some really fun events that I was able to participate in that highlighted the really brilliance of our students and our staff across all of Milwaukee. On April 25th, I was able to join students at Elm Creative Arts School, the Alliance School of Milwaukee, and Roosevelt Creative Arts Middle School for an Arbor Day celebration. Schools around the district celebrated this day with activities and lessons centered around tree planting. For the 4th year in a row, MPS celebrated Denim Day, a global campaign aimed at raising awareness about sexual violence and supporting survivors. 300 students from 13 of our schools had the opportunity to attend the Denim Day Summit launch at UWM. On May 2nd, I had the opportunity to join with Deputy Superintendent Eduardo Galvan to offer words of welcome at the Cantos de las Americanas celebration. Cantos de las Americas has been a tradition in Milwaukee Public Schools since 1990 and is an annual celebration that honors the varied cultures that are represented by students of Milwaukee Public Schools. Historically, the event has featured students performing songs and dances from Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, Europe, and the Hmong, Laotian, and Native American cultures. On May 6th, we were just outside our building here in Milwaukee, celebrating with Milwaukee Rec to cut the ribbon on Wick Field after its renovation. Wick Playfield now features a variety of essential upgrades, including a modern playground design, a splash pad, new basketball courts, comfortable plaza seating, synthetic turf baseball and softball diamonds, and refreshed dirt diamonds. Community members can also enjoy the new walking paths that curl throughout the park, as well as renovated restrooms, improved lighting, and solar shade structures. The next day, I attended the United Nations World Fair. The United Nations School of International Learning program helps our students learn about the world and all it has to offer, starting with the shared responsibilities, opportunities, and leadership that the United Nations offers. The INSO program has been implemented in grades 4 through 8 at MPS most diverse schools since 2016. That week, I also was able to join Mayor Johnson for a community cleanup event as part of the Peace Week. This was held at South Division High School. Peace Week is an initiative of the mayor's that is aimed at promoting peace, unity, and community engagement. I'm proud to share that in partnership with the Greater Milwaukee Committee earlier this month, they announced a Leadership Impact Fund of more than $500,000 that will provide resources to address many of the items outlined in the MGT audit that was commissioned by Governor Evers prior to my arrival to Milwaukee. I'm grateful for their partnership and their continued support to our work. Last week, I was able to meet with the Chamber Board and also this week with the Chamber's Ed Committee, who also donated $50,000 to the Leader Impact Fund. These relationships are going to be incredibly important as we begin to do our high school redesign work and work across the entire community with our civic leaders. On May 14th, we had the opportunity to celebrate our students, the celebration of scholars hosted by the MPS Foundation. It was a special evening. 55 of our students received $225,000 in scholarships. In just 4 years, the MPS Foundation has awarded more than $770,000 in scholarships to over 142 deserving students. Many thanks to Willie Jude and his leadership at the foundation, as well as the many donors and family foundations that gave to the scholarships for our students. May was also Teacher Appreciation Week, and we had numerous yet never enough opportunities to recognize the talent, dedication, and brilliance of our educators across MPS. This included the MAPSB Teacher of the Year celebration on May 3rd, and a surprise announcement of the State Teacher of the Year at Milwaukee Spanish Immersion Lower School. Second grade teacher Tony Fink was honored as one of the 5 Teachers of the Year from across the state. We are so happy and proud to have State Superintendent Jill Underly on hand to make this announcement, and we're so proud of Mrs. Fink and the teachers at Spanish Immersion. Finally, I continue to feel extremely honored to lead this district, and this is in large part due to the extraordinary welcome that I've continued to receive across the community and the incredible staff that I'm able to work with. On May 19th, I was glad to join the MPS Foundation for a reception where I was able to meet many of our partners and leaders in the community, and many of the board members were there to attend as well. And a real treat, on May 16th, I was asked to throw out the first pitch at the Brewers game. My thanks to Cecilia Gore for her friendship and the Brewers Foundation for the invitation. And I did make it across the plate. That's my report for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Caselius. I know we were going to be putting your pitching skills in your superintendent evaluation, so. Does the board wish to make any comments or ask questions? No? Okay. All right, with that, Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the board clerk, chief officer, Office of Board Governance?
Thank you, Madam President. There are 3 communications from the Office of Board Governance. The first communication is the monthly report with possible action from the Board Clerk Chief Officer. This is an information item, and although it was noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will the Office of Board Governance please present the report?
Thank you, Madam President. Tina Owen Moore, Chief Officer, Office of Board Governance. It has been exciting this month for our team to facilitate some of those activities with Dr. Caselius and her team out in the community. I know our board members have attended many of those events, providing speaking points and really celebrating our teachers in our community. I know they were at UNSUL and at the Teacher of the Year event and Peace Week and many of the other activities. So thank you all for your participation as well. I want to highlight just a couple of things from my report this month. I think the primary thing I want to highlight is the communications collaboration between our office and our Department of Communications. This was a recommendation from the governor's operational review that we have taken to heart and really thought consciously about how to collaborate together and reach out to the various communities that we're able to reach through our arms of communication. And so we've been doing a lot of work around that and really collaborating on our press releases, communications, making sure we're reaching communities that we may not reach just singly. Our office also was able to develop listservs this month so that the board member communications can get out to the schools. And so each school in your district is receiving the communications, your newsletters now, and the parent coordinators are receiving those also. And we've worked with the Office of Communications to add some of those events and activities that we want to make sure are getting out there. And I know a couple of board members have reached out to me too about adding some of those things and also highlighting the profiles of some of our schools to get the word out to maybe some of the people in the city who sign up for your newsletters that we don't necessarily reach through our school communications. So thank you for those suggestions, and hopefully that'll bring more people to our schools. The other piece that I really want to raise up and highlight this month is we've worked really hard with administration to complete the plaintiff fact sheet regarding the lawsuit against social media companies. So a couple of months ago, the board authorized our office to work with the city attorney's office and our outside legal counsel to join a nationwide lawsuit against social media companies for their impact in the mental health and wellness of our students and the fiscal costs to school districts. This week, we filed that first plaintiff fact sheet. It was an incredible amount of work and a lift for all of the administrators who helped with that, so thank you to everybody. And hopefully this will help us to recoup some of those costs and better support our students moving forward. And I will leave it at that for tonight. Thank you to everyone for all of your hard work and collaboration.
Thank you so much. I've gotten some great feedback on the newsletter format. Do board members have any comments or wish to ask questions?
I have a comment.
Director Jackson.
In conjunction with Dr. Casellas, Superintendent, as well as Dr. Owen Moore, thank you for the communications, and to highlight a few events, the Parent Coordinator Gala that we was able to attend by Hawthorne, as well as the Dads on Duty event as well, and Carmen High School Signing Day that took place as well. So it's a lot going on, and the communications, I think the Office of Board Governance, your job is quite heavy, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do other board members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Reza.
I just want to thank Dr. Tina Owen Moore for the communication that you've established for not just for the board, but basically for really giving us all the information and really highlighting and keeping us up to date. So I really do appreciate with the communication that you have established with us. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next communication from the Office of Board Governance?
The next communication is from the Office of Board Governance is the monthly report with possible action on legislative matters affecting MPS. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will the Office of Board Governance please present the report?
Thank you, President Zambor. Chris Thiel, Governmental Relations from Milwaukee Public Schools. Two main areas to update the board on, the federal level and the state level. And as I'm sure many of you have been tracking over the past month, at the congressional level, the House has moved forward its reconciliation bill. And as we spoke last month and the month before, we were in, a series of rhetoric, I would say, about what would be cut or what would not be cut and what would the impact of their budget proposal be. And at that time, we continued to hear that there would not be cuts to Medicaid. What the House has passed looks like we'll have about $700 billion worth of cuts to Medicaid and $287 billion worth of cuts to SNAP. And the reason that we're raising those items in particular is not only because that will have a dramatic and negative impact on our families in the MPS community and families in the Milwaukee community and, frankly, throughout Wisconsin, but we're waiting to see what the potential knock-on effects are of that defunding from the federal level and what will happen at the state in terms of their budget process and what they will need to prioritize or cut. The other part of that federal action that I think is going to be a concern ongoing, and we have seen this before, and we know what the script is, we can predict that it will happen, is despite a comment earlier in the year that we were going to see a balanced federal budget, this House action will increase the federal deficit by $4 trillion going forward. And the reason that is a concern, obviously, if you would like to have a balanced budget, you're going in the wrong direction. But what that has usually meant when it's come to funding for Title I or special education or other K-12 education programs is that sometime beyond whenever this current federal budget will be passed, we will see the next one and we will hear the claims, well, we need to make cuts to education spending or whatever other domestic programs because we have such an incredible deficit. So just marking this now, that if a decision is in fact made to increase the federal deficit by that amount, it's not because Title I funding is too high or IDEA funding is too high. So just making a note of that in case we see that argument come up in the future. And one thing I really do want to comment on here is the leadership of our Congresswoman Gwen Moore. We had a chance, Dr. Casellas had a meeting with the Congresswoman this week, and we thanked her for her really, really strong advocacy. If you follow this budget process, Congresswoman Moore is on the Ways and Means Committee, so was in that seat, in that role, fighting on behalf of people across the country, but certainly people in Milwaukee. And then she was the designee on the Budget Committee, which you may have seen. They had a scheduled meeting for 1 a.m. in the morning. Usually meetings, may go until the dark of night. They scheduled the meeting for the dark of night. And after her work on the Ways and Means Committee, Congresswoman Moore then went forward to the Budget Committee, which started that meeting at 1 a.m. and again really fought the fight on behalf of the students of Milwaukee Public Schools and the citizens of Milwaukee. So could not be more thankful to her and her staff. Obviously, for people who are not up at 1 a.m. watching that, she was there, and our thanks again to her. At the state level, in this last month, it's again been very, very interesting. One of the main things that happened this month is the Legislative Fiscal Bureau came out with its new fiscal estimates for the state. And we mentioned that at the last board meeting here, that we were not quite sure what we would see because of all of the, frankly, there's a firm that the state relies on to do its fiscal forecast. And when you do the fiscal forecast, you're basing that on the economic outlook of the country, and the economic outlook of the country has varied depending on what tariffs we may or may not see our country implementing. And so when they finally did come out with their fiscal forecast for the state, we still remain in a relatively good position. And in all honesty, as I was coming out here, their report, if you read it, says they did not take into account what then was the latest change to the tariff policy. But nonetheless, we remain a state that has over $4 billion surplus, and the revenue forecasts going out remain relatively stable for what we expect in the state of Wisconsin. That is good news, as now the state budget is being finalized, and usually the state will finalize its document by the end of June. Because the revenues are there to do the things that advocates and public school districts across the state have been asking for, again, since this process began. And one of the main points of emphasis, among others, is that getting to that 60% reimbursement rate for special education. The resources are there to do that. And I think from school district leaders to advocates who were, again, up in the Capitol yesterday, making the point that not only is this important for our students, who we haven't seen a per pupil rate of inflation adjustment for 16 years, so we've technically been defunding our kids, but that 60% special education reimbursement is so important because as school districts, we have the responsibility to provide those services. Frankly, the state does constitutionally and hasn't been. And with the reimbursement rate being at 29% right now from the state, we are far below what the state has recommended to itself, what the governor has proposed in his budget, and we continue to advocate for the 90% reimbursement rate that private schools receive. So it not only makes sense for students, but the added point is that if we receive that funding on the front end, you will not see school districts across the state having to go to referenda and ask for property tax increases on the back end, which is happening now. So that upfront, very much needed funding is the point of emphasis. The governor has been meeting with legislative leaders over the past several weeks, and we're trying to keep tabs on how those negotiations are going. But hopefully, by the time we meet next month, we will have some answers, and hopefully they are good ones. So happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Do members have any comments or wish to ask questions? Okay. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Director Fonz.
When I see news about defunding of the Department of Education, my understanding that one of their main functions is Title I funding. Do we see any changes as a result of, the destruction of the Department of Education?
Mr. Gill?
President Zombor, Director Fonz, I think that hasn't been worked out yet. As I'm sure you've observed with each one of these actions, lawsuits have been filed about the the right of the executive branch to take action that Congress created the Department of Education in the first place. If, in fact, it were to reach a point where the Department of Education at the federal level were disbanded, the responsibility for the distribution of the funding of Title I and special education funds and other funds would necessarily have to go somewhere. Where that would be is unclear. How that would disrupt the distribution of funding is unclear. But technically speaking, if the Department of Education no longer exists, the funding would still exist. How it would be maintained, number one, and distributed, number two, are questions that haven't been answered yet. I believe it's true to say in the President's proposed budget, there was a reduction of 25% in Title I funding. That would be the budget that happens a year from now, and so that would be a whole different budget process that Congress would have to go through. But the short answer is that we don't know yet.
Any follow-up, Director Fons? Nope. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next communication from the Office of Board Governance?
Madam President, the third communication is action on a request to retire to closed session to confer with legal counsel with respect to pending or probable litigation matter. The recommendation is that the board retire to closed session for consideration of this item.
If there are no objections for board members, we will defer this item to the end of the meeting. Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the Office of Accountability and Efficiency?
There are two communications from the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. The first is the monthly report with possible action on activities within the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the Office of Accountability and Efficiency please present the report?
Thank you, Chair Zombor. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. That report is before you. I have with me Mr. Paul Geib, Chief Auditor, who can provide some specific audit updates. Related to the CAP updates, Dr. Casillas has alluded to the fact that we are working constantly with collaboration with the Department of Public Instruction, really to help overcome challenges as they're identified as we move towards that deadline tomorrow. I also wanted to offer and acknowledge the leadership that Dr. Casillas has brought to the work surrounding the CAP. I would offer that she has set an expectation of performance of the staff. I would further offer that I think she's established a tone of accountability with respect to our financial reporting obligations, and I just want to take a moment to recognize this. I don't want my statements to be received or intended to be casting any shade on the work of the interim superintendent. Prior to Dr. Casillas, I think there was a foundation laid upon which Dr. Casillas can really work on and focus on process improvement. So please receive my comments as walking that delicate balance. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Geib for his monthly audit update.
I think your mic might be turned off.
Good evening, President Zombor, members of the board, Paul Geib, Chief Auditor. Just wanted to highlight a few quick points from the monthly activity with the audit area. We actually achieved our annual audit plan goals, and we still have another month to go, but that doesn't mean we're going to kick back for a month. We're going to continue to work on our annual audit plan. But we had a goal of achieving 93% of the plan. We've issued 48 projects during this time. 50 were planned. I envision us achieving and going beyond. Secondly, we did have that peer review done by Olga. I think I had mentioned that we did receive a pass opinion. There were no management letter comments. That's the highest level of quality assurance that can be achieved. We also completed the risk assessment survey as part of our annual audit plan development, and we're reviewing and analyzing the results of that risk assessment. And we'll be planning on bringing that forward in June as part of the annual audit plan. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we recorded our 65th fraud hotline complaint as of last week. So that is 19 more than we had received all of last year. And we are potentially on pace to set a record. The record was 76 complaints that were received in fiscal 19 prior to COVID. I would be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Do board members wish to make comments or ask questions? No? Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next communication?
The next communication is action to approve appointees to the Audit Advisory Committee. The recommendation is that the board approve the nominees as listed in the item.
Would the Office of Accountability and Efficiency please present this item?
Thank you, Chair Zombor. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. So it was in March of this year that the board approved the charter for an audit committee. This was an establishment under the Corrective Action Plan. It is a best practice under the Council of Great City Schools as well. We have, I think, a very strong nominee list for your consideration this evening. I think these are individuals who lend credibility, legitimacy to an audit committee function. I'm actually going to turn it back over to Mr. Guy to provide a little bit more detail on the nominees before you, after which we'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Mr. Geib?
President Zombor, members of the board, Paul Geib, Chief Auditor. So there are 4 external nominees that I just wanted to briefly mention some of their qualifications. So Mr. Nick Kovac is the mayor's appointee. He is the Budget and Management Director with the City of Milwaukee, also former alderman and on the pension board with the City of Milwaukee. Mr. Charles Riddell is the Deputy Comptroller. He is a CPA and has a lot of audit experience as well with the City of Milwaukee. Mr. Andy Holman, also a CPA. He is a partner with the Ritz Holman firm, and he has strong ties as well with MPS. Kids went to MPS schools. Wife was a teacher, longtime Montessori teacher. And then Rhonda Kohlheim is the Inspector General with the City of Milwaukee. She's a certified fraud examiner as well as possesses an MBA, Business Administration. We're hopeful that you will accept the nominees tonight, and then we are planning on scheduling an orientation for them the week of June 16th with a target to try to have that first Audit Advisory Committee meeting the end of June. Again, be happy to answer any questions.
Do board members wish to, Director O'Halloran?
Thank you. So I just wanted to call back the charter that we had talked about, and I think there might be refinements coming, but just as a reminder for the audience, perhaps this is the first time that you've heard about this committee. This will be meeting, the committee will be meeting at least 4 times during the year, and additional meetings may be called by the chair of the committee. And under the power, duties, and responsibilities, the charge of the committee really is to review and make recommendations on the annual plan of audits, monitor and follow up on reported audit findings, report to the board on an as-needed basis, insights into the district's financial reporting, school district and program audit processes, et cetera, et cetera. It's attached to the March full board agenda, so you can look at it in depth. So I'm really excited about the work of this committee, and I think the kind of the panel of people you have put together for this committee for consideration is really strong. I've seen experience, both depth and breadth of experience in public and private audit functions. And so I personally am just very excited about this work, and as the chair of the AFP committee, looking forward to seeing how we can brings some of that information back out to the public, not just that the information kind of comes to the board and sits here. I think as we are working towards rebuilding credibility and trust with our community, I think this is an incredibly important step forward. So thank you so much for the work that you've put into this. If we need a formal, do we need a formal motion on this item? Well, it would be my pleasure to move approval of the recommendation of the Office of Accountability and Efficiency with regards to the nominations as listed in this item.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Vice President Herndon.
Second.
Okay. And I just want to give folks a chance if anyone else has any questions or comments before we do the vote. Yeah, and I would echo, I think this is a really strong nomination list. Thank you to everyone who helped recruit people for this committee and worked on the charter. I know it's not easy to set up a committee like this, and I know a lot of effort went into it to look at best practices at Council of Great City Schools and other school districts. So just want to thank everyone for that work. Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the nominations brought forward by OAE as listed in the item, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Seamson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
And President Zomber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what is our next item of business?
The next item is action on reports of the independent hearing officers of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, student expulsions.
The chair will entertain a motion to accept, modify, or reject the reports of the independent hearing officers of the dates and times listed in our agenda. Director O'Halloran.
I move approval of the reports of the independent hearing officers as attached.
Do we have a second? Director Seamson.
I second that motion.
Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the reports of the independent hearing officers, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Seamson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
And President Zomber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
We will now have the reports of the standing committees. Since public hearing was given at the committee meetings, the board, as is customary, will not be giving public hearing on these reports this evening. Madam Secretary, what is the first report?
The first report is that of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. Item 5, action on the award of professional services contracts has been set aside at the request of administration.
Sorry, this is a new script for me to get used to. So then, just for clarification, Madam Secretary, so do we have administration talk about that report, or we go to the next?
First, we would have, see if the board members have any other items from that committee meeting that they would like to set aside.
Okay. Do board members have any items they would wish to set aside from AFP? Okay, Madam Secretary, what is the first report?
We'll go on to the next report is that of the Committee on Legislation, Rules, and Policies. Item 5, report on the policy review project has been set aside as a procedural matter.
Do board members wish any other items to be set aside? No? Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next report?
The next report is the report of the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation. No items of this report have been set aside.
Do board members wish any other items to be set aside? Okay. May I please have a motion to approve the balance of the committee reports? Director Seamson.
I move approval of the balance of the committee's reports.
Will the secretary please call the roll? Oh, I'm sorry, second. Director Jackson.
Second.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Simpson's motion to approve the balance of the committee's reports, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
President Zumber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what is the first item set aside?
The first item set aside is from the report of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. Item 5, action on the award of professional services contracts. Your committee recommended approving the professional services contracts except for the contract with Mainstream Development EDU Group. This item was set aside at the request of the administration.
Does the administration have new information to present?
President Zombor, members of the board, Brenda Cassellius, Superintendent, on Thursday, May 20th, during the monthly AFP committee meeting, the administration requested that under item number 5, professional services contracts, the contract for Mainstream Development Education Group be pulled from consideration for approval. Since then, we have had time to confirm the contract, and it is ready to be fully executed. Therefore, we're seeking and asking that all items listed under professional services contracts for May of 2025 be approved to include Mainstream Developmental Education Groups as attached. I have with me Janine Adamczyk if you have questions.
Do any board members have questions or wish to make comments? Okay. What is the pleasure of the board with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran.
I move approval of administration's recommendation with regards to the professional services contract inclusive of the Mainstream, sorry, I'm looking for the official name, the Mainstream Development Educational Group contract as attached.
Do we have a second? Director Jackson. Oh,
I second.
thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation on the award of professional services contracts including Mainstream Development EDU Group, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
President Zomber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, do we have any other items set aside?
The next item set aside is from the report of the Committee on Legislation, Rules, and Policies, Item 5, Report on Policy Review Project. The Office of Board Governance requests that this item be held to the call of the chair until the review project is complete, at which time the entirety of the policy recommendations will be brought forward for final adoption and enactment.
Thank you. Do members have comments or questions on this report? Okay, may I have a motion to hold this item to the call of the chair? Director O'Halloran.
I move to hold the item to the call of the chair.
Do we have a second? Director Reza.
I second a motion.
Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to hold the report to the call of the chair, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
And President Zomber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, are there any items of regular business?
Yes, there are 2 items of regular business. Item 1 is the reports of the board delegates.
Thank you. Do any of our delegates wish to give a report? No? Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next item of regular business?
Item 2 is the monthly report of the president of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
Thank you. So my first report of the board president is attached. I'm not going to go through everything, but I do want to just start off by thanking everyone for your confidence in me. It has been a very busy and challenging first month and a quarter, but also it's been a joy and an honor. And I just want to, I'm not going to read through everything, but I do want to highlight 2 important things that I've been working on that I think will come forward again. So under enhancing student voice and decision making, I've been working together with Dr. Caselius and Mr. Valdez from the SSAC. We're working to really empower student voice and their engagement with the board. And so currently there's an admin policy 8.18, which addresses student involvement in decision-making. It is the board's representative in our meetings. And as you see, we don't have a student with us tonight sitting up here. And so we're going to work together with the students over the next month. So the next LRP meeting, we should have the policy brought forward to either reaffirm or change based on student feedback of what would make it easier for students to participate, what do they want to see, and then the goal is to allow the SSAC to select their board representative by the September board cycle, so really reaffirming that, and then hopefully we can go forward and let the students tell us, how did it go, and we can revise as needed, but wanted to uplift that as something that we will be working on, and also wanted to highlight that Dr. Tina Owen-Moore and Dr. Caselius and I have been working together to discuss board governance training options. We know that was an item in the operational review, and so we plan to bring forward some recommendations in the near future for the board to consider. So just wanted to give those updates. Thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary, is there any unfinished business before the board?
We have one item of unfinished business, designation of the board's representative to the library board. At the April 22nd, 2025 organizational meeting, President Zomber advised that she did not wish to serve as delegate. The recommendation is that the board determine its delegate to the library board of trustees.
Thank you. Do any members wish to serve as delegate? Dr. Jackson?
Yes.
You'd like to nominate yourself?
Yes.
Do we have any other members who would like to nominate themselves or someone else? No? Okay. Then Director Jackson is designated the delegate by consensus. Congratulations, Director Jackson.
Thank you.
Oh, we don't have to call the roll since it was, okay. All right, Madam Secretary, is there any new business?
We have no items of new business.
Madam Secretary, are there any communications for referral to committee?
There are no communication items for referral.
Madam Secretary, are there any resolutions for referral?
We have one resolution for referral, Resolution 2526R-002 by Director Jackson on the acknowledgement of the contributions of Black students.
This will be referred to the Committee on Parent and Community Engagement. Madam Secretary, what is the next item on our agenda?
Madam Chair, we are back to the item that was previously deferred, action on a request to retire to closed session to confer with legal counsel with respect to pending or probable litigation matters. The recommendation is that the board consider this item in closed session.
The chair will accept a motion to consider this item in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the board who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the board with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Does any member so move? Director Simpson?
I move that we retire to closed session for the reasons read into the record.
Do we have a second? Vice President Herndon?
Second.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Simpson's motion to retire to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, Parent 1, Parent G, Director Fonz?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Jackson?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Reza?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Director Vanoy?
Aye.
And President Zomber?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
The board will now retire to closed session to discuss the items read by our secretary. The board may return to open session to take action on matters discussed in closed session. Otherwise, the board will adjourn from closed session. Madam Secretary, please note the time.